You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Mission Log Prodigy, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Supplemental. Star Trek, Prodigy. Season 2 recap.
Welcome into another episode of Mission Log Prodigy, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. I'm Marina Kravchuk.
And I am Charlene Schmidt. Just like our flagship Mission Log podcast, each week here on Mission Log Prodigy, we discuss each and every episode of this animated series, discover what makes each of these episodes special, and see if there's any morals, meanings, or messages that we've learned. However, that's not what we're doing today because we already did that. We examined every episode of Season 2. So what are we doing instead?
This week, we're going to look at the entirety of Season 2, where we recap our favorite episodes, favorite moments, and things we learned along the way.
That's right. Don't forget that Mission Log Prodigy is produced for YouTube and as a regular podcast, so please be sure to engage the like and the share buttons, subscribe if you're on YouTube, give us a rating and a review if you're listening to the audio version. It all helps us so much and helps other people like you find the show. You can also follow Mission Log Prodigy on Instagram at Mission Log Prodigy and keep up with updates and news and who knows going forward. It's the future. We don't know. So before we get into our official wrap-up of Season 2, we've got a very important order of business to discuss, and that is to announce the winners of our giveaway.
We had, believe it or not, spectacular 1,064 entries, which is amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. And now we're ready to announce who the winners are. So here we go. The wonderful prize of Blu-rays, Season 1 and Season 2, goes to Kelly Simon.
Yay! Congratulations. The book set, all 3 of the Prodigy novels in a case, goes to Kimmy Ripley. The fan sets pins get to go to 2 lucky winners, and those people are Dave Gregory, who's a great supporter of the show, thank you, and Charles Wang.
And we also have shout-outs to the runner-ups, and that is Courtney Falk, Josh Wilhite, and Asif Kamran. Again, thank you everybody for taking part, and congratulations to the winners.
Yay! Yeah, thank you everybody who participated, and we've got to give a special shout-out also to Norman Lau, my bro, who got this idea started and donated most of the prizes, but also to Jessica Lynn Verdi for helping coordinate all the parts we needed to move and make this happen. So thank you both very much for helping us out here. It was a fantastic way to generate some buzz with Season 2.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. So, now to the wrap-up. We tried to pick a handful of our favorite moments, which was very hard. Also, character developments and things that we learned along the way. I mean, I suppose original thought was to make it sort of like a ranked thing, but that's impossible.
No.
So we have like some
abandoned that fast.
Some number of favorite moments, characters, etc. I mean, realistically, it's like trying to pick the prettiest snowflake. It's pretty much impossible. So,
right.
Why don't we start with favorite scenes and moments? And I'll start with that one. I'll go straight to my favorite deep cut through the entire season, and that is the Jabalian omelet. The famous 7 ingredients, which is this wonderful thing to come out completely unexpectedly out of Voyager, as we know, that actually plays a role, because as we know, that's the metaphor for the, well, having 7 ingredients, having 7 of our crew with Majel joining in, and I just love it. I love it. It's as I said, that's probably my favorite deep cut of the whole thing.
I knew you were going to put this on your list, so I intentionally left it off of mine, knowing that we would have to limit ourselves somewhat. Otherwise, we would be here for hours and hours, and we're trying to keep it concise.
Hours, yes.
Truth. But the Jabalian omelet, it is such a great deep cut. It was mentioned once on Voyager and makes such a big impact here. And thank you, Aaron Waltke, for all of that so much. So, all right, I'm going to, in no particular order, decide to kick things off on my list with Chakotay's day in the life sequence in Last Flight of the Protostar. I love that so much. I think there's just something about it because it tells a story without saying a single word. And of course, it's so beautifully animated and the music is fantastic. And it's just a really memorable sequence in that respect.
It's emotional. You feel everything, even though, as you said, there is no dialogue. No, nobody says anything. I mean, they're just there for
his
himself.
Loneliness,
it's brilliant.
How every day is pretty much the same. Yeah.
Well, the next, it's not so much a favorite scene as a favorite concept. A favorite one of the, I don't know, I won't say favorite character, because that's kind of like a favorite child. You can't do that. But I absolutely adore Jillian the Whale, who's voiced by everybody's favorite Bonnie Gordon. What a great idea. I mean, between Lower Decks and Prodigy, I think we have Cetacean Ops just completely figured out now. I mean, we see her navigating, we see her saving, we see her, consulting. And of course, she gets a really nice turn in the cracked mirror, where we have the mirror Jillian, who, as we know, even the whales are evil. So it's great fun. I think it's fantastic because, again, it's a brilliant, something that actually hit me as I was writing the list. Do I actually know her rank? Aaron, we need to know. Is she a lieutenant, a commander? Just Jillian? I don't know.
Really good question. Yeah. I mean, in Lower Decks, the Cetacean Ops officers have rank on their wetsuit uniforms.
Exactly.
But Jillian does not have one. So that's a very good question. We're going to have to ask the powers that be. Well, how about, I'm going for scenes, I think, because here's a second one already. I loved Rock Talk's intro about how a nebula forms in a tribble called Quest.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
Right. Basically, it's Cosmos starring Rock Talk. And that's fantastic. I want so much more of that. And I will forever demand more of Rock Talk explaining science and Dr. Aaron explaining science. Absolutely. Ideally together. I will fight for that. I will die on this hill. I want it. And I have to give us like a little side mention to Bribble saving the day in a tribble called Quest, just because the unexpected variable was the key to success. And what a great message. What a great story twist, all of that. And come on, Bribble's cute.
Yeah. Yet another great addition of a cute entity, I suppose. I don't want to. Bribble is not exactly a person, but but a great addition to the canon. I'm actually gonna call out an entire episode. I would not call it necessarily my favorite of the entire season, but I think it really stands out by virtue of its design, because it is truly a thing of beauty. It is gorgeous, and that is, of course, Is There in Beauty No Truth? I mean, aside from the fact that in terms of art, it's absolutely spectacular. I can't really think of anything that would beat it. We have this fantastic thing that, Zero gets to have a corporeal experience. They get a body. And I keep, this must be the episode that I rewatched the most in the season. And then after that, followed by the finale. Yeah. I just find it staggeringly beautiful. It's kudos to the team that created it. It's spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
It is a beautiful episode. One, because of what it does for Zero and that character arc. And there's also something really beautiful and vibrant about this world, the color palette, the way that these entities in their corporeal forms really embrace their physical presence. And just seeing that in action really is interesting. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, let's see. Okay, I'm going to go with another littler moment. You're going for bigger ones. I'm going for smaller ones. And I love that we could not have planned that better if we had tried, but we didn't. We didn't even have to.
Yeah, this was completely random.
But completely amazing on our part. Look at us go. All right, I gotta mention Dal placing the Protostar style comm badge where Rock initially found it in Our Brothers Part 2. I feel like we just discussed that yesterday, but it's such a moment, right, for the show. It's that symbol. The cycle is complete and it's so earned. I think really Prodigy does a great job of earning its moments, but the only thing that I think compares to the momentum of that was when, say, in season 1, when the crew put on the uniforms for the first time, it was like that level, but a little bit higher.
In terms of impact. I find as I mentioned when we reviewed the finale, I absolutely adore all the meta moments. When you you basically have a full circle, and in this case, it's a great idea. I mean, you couldn't have. I'm not sure. I doubt that this was foreseen when season 1 was being produced, but
I don't know.
Regardless, what a great touch. Because with that, the moment he places the comm badge, it's like you realize that's it. We've closed the cycle. Things are well.
Yes, finally, all is well. I love that. Given how cohesive everything is, I have to kind of wonder if maybe the Hagemans and Aaron Waltke and what have you had this idea almost from the get-go and said, this is how we're going to close it. It would not surprise me. So, another question for the powers that be. Are we writing these down? We've got to get a list together.
So, speaking of big things,
yeah.
Wesley, my goodness, aside from the reveal and the fact that we have yet another legacy character joining the crew, the whole everything that goes through between his frenetic self, being at the beginning is like, well, is he actually helping or something is really going sideways, to little understanding that he's the only one who's juggling the fate of the universe because he has this master plan that should fix everything, and our crew is the key part of it, which, it can't get any bigger. And just all the little touches, all the little callbacks to the next generation and everything that happened. And of course, Picard. Wesley is just so organically part of the season. I have no words, literally. It's brilliant. So this is most definitely something that, from the moment we're like, oh, we have this mysterious entity. Is it helping? Is it hindering? What is it doing? To having, the original Prodigy become a part of the Prodigy is a fantastic idea.
It's truly genius. Really ties in the past because he's a legacy character, but also, tying in the Picard stuff so much with all of this, and not just shooing him in because, let's have somebody. No, every legacy character on Prodigy serves a really important purpose.
Absolutely.
Especially Wesley. I don't know how else you would tell this story without him, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. I mean, he really is pivotal. So it's brilliant. Love it so much. And it was so good to see him, and especially all the sweater talk. That was charming. Yeah, what's not to love?
Exactly. Yeah.
How about another smaller moment? I gotta point out, whenever Murph was doing crazy things in the background, I was enjoying the heck out of that. And it was fun, watching for those moments too, knowing that after a little while, those were going to happen, and they did. Because Murph is just this crazy little guy. He got to do just some really comical things this season, and also cool things, like always, like Slingshot Murph.
Yeah,
definitely a cool thing. But his funniest might have been the word salad, like when the translator malfunctions in Observer's Paradox, where it's just Disco Mushroom Saturday, and
lest we forget the Murph Maid. I want to know more about the melanoid slime worm's anatomy, because that kind of transformation, almost magical. And what's more, here's another question: are there more stages?
Right? We don't know.
Can we please have season 3 so at least we know what's the next stage of development for Murph? Please.
Yeah, like season 1 of pre-Cocoon was sort of like infant-like Murph, and I feel like bipedal Murph is more of like a toddler Murph / child maybe. And so, what would adolescent Murph look like? We gotta know.
Yeah.
We gotta know.
I'm going to finish this section with, again, it's a bigger thing because it does run through, well, not only the entirety of season 2, you can argue it runs through 7 seasons of Voyager. And that is, of course, all the interactions between Janeway and Chakotay. In Prodigy in particular, because, this, some may think, oh, no, it's part of fan service. It's not, because it's been done so organically and so, tastefully. And whichever way you want to interpret their relationship, do you want to see the romantic undertones? Do you want to see the most incredible, very long friendship? it works. Every time they're on screen together, you kind of forget that this is animated series. You can totally see Kate and Robert actually act this in the scene together. So, there is history there. There's further development there. There's a multitude of interviews that you can read just how effective this was, writing in so much emotion in their dialogue. So this is something that's another thing out of a myriad that works beautifully in this season. And I'm glad that we got to see it. I almost feel vindicated because it was this sort of like tension. Well, is there going to be some kind of a resolution? See what I did there? And in a way there is, yes, we end and it's a, blue skies, imagine whatever you want. It's a great
right.
relationship, and I'm glad that we got to see it. So thank you.
That's the way this relationship has been. It has built since the very first episode of Voyager, 7 seasons later. Now, coming, I don't know if it's a resolution, but there is obviously something still there in Prodigy season 2 and going forward. And you know what? That is wonderful. Make of it what you will, and I'm so glad we got to see it.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the next part of the wrap up, and that is talking about character development. So we're speaking specifically about the characters. And that's, again, we've spent hours talking about this over the last 20 of our episodes. But I want to start with undoubtedly Dal and Gwyn. That is the development that's what basically the main thread through the entire season, if you will, especially Dal. This is a tremendous transformation. You look back at the beginning of season 2. He literally goes from like, okay, I'm the captain. This is my crew. We have to be part of the mission. What's going on there? Let's act now. You have to take risks. And then we reach the end, and he's so much more level-headed, and then this is where I'm needed. He takes Chakotay's advice to heart. I have your back. I will follow your lead. And then, of course, you compare it to Gwyn, who throughout the entire season is much more level-headed, as opposed to Dal, who's he wants to rush into leading and being the captain. Instead, she actually naturally grows into it. She's the one who's willing to try diplomacy. She's the one who, I don't know if that's part of her sort of like the linguistic genius. She's the one who wants to talk. She's the one who listens. So I feel like that's the major development through the entire season, really.
I love that so much because they've always come from very different places. And yeah, she's so much more like level-headed and measured. He's willing to take more risks. And Dal growing up, watching him actually become set the real foundation for effectively becoming a good leader in the future is incredibly heartwarming. He does not even know how good he's doing just yet by simply taking a little bit of a step back and saying, I will follow your lead. I know when to take risks now rather than just jumping in blind and having to figure it out along the way. It's just a completely...
Yeah. I mean, he literally says that at the end. He's like, I wanted to go fast. Now I'm just taking it one step at a time, which is,
Did he go so fast that he got a little tired?
Yeah. Well, he grew up. That's what happened.
Yes.
He grew up.
That really is. Like, all of our characters grow up, but he definitely, in my opinion, grows up the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you mentioned Gwyn. I have her on my list as well. The fact that she faces the unknown, overcomes her own doubts, and never gives up on Solom and her people. That arc throughout this whole season is really beautiful. She's really trying to pave the way for a better future than what she saw under the Diviner. And what a...
And especially Essentia, seeing her world basically being destroyed in real time. So another character whose development I feel a long time coming. I mean, we've had some improvement in beta canon, if you will, in the novels, especially Voyager novels, obviously, and that is of course Chakotay. And as I said, long time overdue, but we get some major corrections to the character, if you will, now that we have like little touches, basically kind of touching upon his actual ancestry, and the culture and him as a person. When we finally get to see him and, everything that happens over the two-parter, the last flight of Protostar is is excellent. This is in such a short, you would think a two-parter, that's a long time. No, it was such a short period of time, and yet we got more Chakotay development than we've had in, literally seasons of Voyager, unfortunately. So this is,
true.
Going from Voyager to Prodigy, this is for, one of the legacy characters, and specifically for a main character of a series. This was a tremendous improvement, and, where some might have had question marks, like, why did we have, why are we looking for Chakotay? Well, we get a major boost to understanding the character and knowing him. And of course, the way everything ties into the whole story of the season works incredibly well. So I'm again, not unlike like our little JC, side there, I'm glad that we got to have him back, and we got to see him change.
Big time.
Or I should say him changed.
Well, I love Chakotay in Prodigy because he's got a little more personality than he ever got the chance to have in Voyager most of the time, unfortunately. Like in those latter seasons, he just doesn't get a whole lot to do except maybe bark out orders on the bridge while Janeway's off doing something else or what have you. And I do feel like we get to know Chakotay better in Prodigy than we did in a lot of Voyager. And you mentioned the novel verse. Yes, that's another instance where both Chakotay and Harry Kim, I feel, are done way more justice than the show gave them. So it is very nice to see Chakotay getting some quote unquote canon, solid development. And it makes sense too. It's not just thrown in there because no, it's very natural. He very organically fit into this Prodigy paradigm. One of my favorite characters that was introduced to us this season was Iltheron.
Yeah.
And we saw the Diviner, but Iltheron is a very different guy from that guy, which we got reminded of in this season. And the fact that Gwyn and Iltheron not only got to meet, but to get to know one another and form a loving father-daughter relationship through the course of this season was a very heartwarming and I would almost say therapeutic arc.
It was. I mean, this is the lesson in acceptance. I mean, he meets her. Yes, he is delighted. He's certainly very surprised. And yet you can see how quickly he just accepts the fact that, I have a daughter. And meanwhile, she, having grown up under basically, Diviner was a monster in so many ways. There is no transference. It's like, Iltheron, and similarly, she accepts him as, the wonderful person that he is, of course, but she accepts him similarly. So this is a wonderful relationship that very naturally just grows out of like, they get each other. They are father and daughter, even though they have never met before.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. It's just an automatic, I don't know. It's not necessarily love at first sight or anything like that, but it's definitely, certainly, I'm meeting you where you are and I accept you. And then actually having a healthy, functional relationship based off of that, something that she did not have with the Diviner.
Exactly. Now, something else that Zero is one of my favorite characters. I absolutely love the fact that the one person that has a tremendous amount of self-awareness, Zero knows what they are, who's incredibly selfless. I mean, how many times we see Zero, this is my family, I must protect it, sacrifice themselves, basically.
Yeah.
Does not actually have a self, and the fact that we get to see Zero have a corporeal experience, as traumatic as it ends, is nevertheless is a fantastic arc, I think. So, starting from this beauty of the episode when they get the body, all the way to their sacrifice, even though, Medusan, we know that they're going to survive. But it is a sacrifice, and it is absolutely heartbreaking to see Zero go. This is a major development, I think. I mean, Zero gets the experience. That's the development.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful arc from where Zero started to where it all ends, and especially here in season 2, that really, really comes into play. Like season 1, I feel like Zero got a little bit to do, but even though it's not a main part of the story all the time, it still flows along in season 2 enough to remind us what an incredible experience, what this journey is of self-discovery for Zero.
Yeah.
It's great.
I mean, I almost regret that Zero lost their body. I almost regret that we get to see him again in that, see them again in that sphere. On the other hand, having had that experience, again, Zero being a very self-aware individual, perfectly understands that, that the experience wasn't reached and they are in a position of having all these additional things due to technology. So there's still an ability to feel things. And so I guess it's sort of like a win-win situation, but I do mourn the beautiful, beautiful, artful body that they had. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm with you now. At first, when you said I regret the whole thing, I'm like, wait a minute, but come on, the suit is pretty cool just because it's got some of the Jankum features and it's a nice little bridge between where Zero started and where it's all going. But I do agree. I loved Zero's corporeal body. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think my last point in character development is more of a general observation to just kind of throw in the kitchen sink, if you will. Yeah. And that is really just about how our crew, generally speaking, everybody gained confidence in themselves and their abilities as the season went on. And sometimes there were stumbles, but the point was to learn from those things and then keep going, which they all did. And that's such a great lesson because progress is never like this linear uphill line. It's always up a little, down a little, up a little, down a little. And that's exactly what was portrayed on screen. So that was fantastic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I guess the sort of like the main section of, our favorite things is what we've learned. And
yes,
let's face it, we learned a lot. There has been a lot of wonderful lessons and wonderful themes, beautifully stitched together all throughout the season. And naturally, I suppose the main overarching theme is, of course, the big three. The working and sticking together, not giving up and being hopeful, and the whole concept of a found built family, which is basically, this is Star Trek in a nutshell. So, and Prodigy did a fantastic job illustrating that.
Yes.
The whole thing starts out, basically, our crew is part of Federation, part of the, an actual Starfleet crew now. They don't have their own ship. So they becoming a part of the whole. That kind of starts off the entire, the evolution, the development of all of them. And becoming a part of a whole and a team can be scary and uncomfortable. But as we learn, everybody has a role to play and an opportunity to grow.
Love that. Yeah. And Prodigy did it all so beautifully. Everybody brings something to the table, and it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is. All that's really required is a willingness to contribute. Bring your talents to the table. And yeah, that is Starfleet. That is Prodigy. That is our crew. It's everything. Love
something that we already talked about Dal growing up, being the best example of having this tremendous arc of change. And so the thing that we learn along with Dal is, it is a process, learning not to make rash decisions, because he had, his heart was in the right place, but he was far too willing to rush into the action without thinking it through, and how many problems that landing us into. So, developing maturity, developing patience, developing moral compass. That was a spectacular thing. I mean, we've had these moments of like, what do you do when you find yourself in a situation so much bigger than yourself? And in this case, I mean, we're literally talking on the scale of a universe, of a timeline. And then, of course, being shaped by the experiences and by people surrounding you. That sort of like kind of grows into the whole, found family thing, of course. But again, it's beautifully illustrated through the whole season.
Yeah. And it shows the importance of good role models. Mm-hmm. Like if you've got Admiral Janeway as your role model, that is a lot better than, say, the Diviner.
Yeah.
You're going to learn very different things. And I mean, consider Dal's complete mistrust of really any adult at first in the very early parts of season 1, because the diviner is really one of the only adults he had interacted with for the most part. So then having to listen to Admiral Janeway and be a part of a crew and answer to authority was just like, what? But then, yeah, he really does grow up so much. And he had to go through life to learn these things. You've got to live to learn, essentially. Yeah. You can't just come out of the box ready to go. That's just not the way we are built. And I think anybody who has been a teenager before can relate to that. You have to be out there. You have to make mistakes. You can't be scared of making mistakes because you're going to make them. The important thing is that you learn from them and then how you keep building from there.
And also something that Prodigy does, again, yes, making mistakes on very different scales, of course, because, this is Star Trek. We are talking about time travel and other very, very complicated things. But,
yes.
They Star Trek and Prodigy specifically wonderfully shows the willingness to learn and to strive to be better, which again kind of ties into the whole not giving up. Because it's so very easy to be like, yes, I made the mistake, I'd screw up, and then things go sideways. No, all of them, Gwyn and Zero and Rock.
Rock especially.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Rock especially, yes. They strive to be better themselves, to better themselves, to paraphrase Captain Picard. And, nothing stays forever. They all embrace change. I mean, they certainly changed themselves. I love that moment where, in the second half of the season, you realize that, they want to be cadets, but we're in this situation where they're working on the same level as, fully fledged Starfleet crew. They're trying to figure out how to deal with Ascension and finding the wormhole and everything. Yeah. They're right there, in the engineering and dealing with science. It's not sort of like being delegated and kind of being barked at orders. No, they're participating. They're providing solutions and suggestions.
Yes. Very hands-on training.
Yeah. And ultimately, I have to go back to that thing that Chakotay says, where when you're lost, go where you need it most. Go where you need it. That is such a delightful thing, and I mean that's exactly where they find themselves at the end of things. They're exactly where they need it. They're part of the solution to the problem.
One of those really nice recurring themes we got throughout. The EMH said it too, I believe, and so it's reinforced throughout the whole season, honestly, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a criticism. It's great to reinforce that. So some things that I learned in a not necessarily story thematic way, but more of a terminology. There were definitely some things that I learned. I learned new words because of Prodigy, such as the click, that shorthand military term that I did not know if it was real or not. Yeah, it means kilometer. So there was something like that. And then also you talked extensively about the bootstrap paradox.
Yeah.
And what that means. And if I recall, not that long ago, we were talking about the meaning of Ouroboros. And you did a great job of defining that. And then, of course, I've got to mention problemtunities, because that is coining a new word.
That was great.
Yes. And then the echelon formation. Those are the ones that I have. Did I miss any?
I know. I think we got it covered. But that's the brilliance of it. It's like, there's a joke, like everything can be connected to Star Trek. But it is. Star Trek is so much a reflection of real world, real life. There are a lot of things that are captured in it, reflected in it, used in it. And I love the fact that you kind of learn new things as, not necessarily made up technology, which, let's face it, does affect real world anyway. But, we get concepts like this explained, and for all I know, perhaps somebody was listening to the finale and wanted to read up more on Ouroboros. There you go. You're going to learn something from ancient history.
You can. Like yes. And if you want to go for the really big concepts, I mean, there's no shortage of those things here either.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the whole multiverse and how it works together as one tapestry. It's the sweater and unraveling with one thread kind of a concept. Yeah. And do you want to remind everybody about the bootstrap paradox? Well, because it's been 2 weeks?
but this is a spectacular thing when, events in the future actually affect the past. It's brilliant. I would love to actually, to speak to more kids at the conventions who have watched Prodigy and to kind of gauge, like, was that an aha moment for you? Because, I'm an adult. I kind of learned this sort of thing when I had physics classes, or at least had some concept of them. But to have, like, yeah, Dal screwed up and now we have all these extra wormholes. It kind of all sounds a lot like made up things. But then a real physics concepts are introduced and delightfully explained. And I don't know, I find it delightful. I thought it was just, when I realized what was happening, it was like, oh, wow, this is just so beyond what I could have possibly imagined for this season. So
honestly, though.
Just general. I mean, we have this, oft mentioned temporal mechanics 101. I almost wish we had, Dr. Aaron talk about it, perhaps in the, in her, Prodigy persona, which would be a delightful class to have. Sure.
Well, it's just like every other piece of good science fiction. It's rooted in real science, even if it does take it a step further to things that we can't possibly achieve right now in the here and now.
Yeah, but you learn new things and you get inspired.
Totally. Well, how about we move on now to just overall impressions of the season as a whole, just taking everything into account, wrapping this up. Look, I'm going to perfectly show off my bias and say this stands as one of the strongest seasons of Star Trek ever made, and in every category.
I agree.
I think it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. It is spectacular. It blew my mind. I love the fact that, as you said, in every category, Prodigy Season 2 fully and spectacularly illustrates how aspirational, inspirational, and relevant Star Trek can be. I mean, literally everything that's going on with Essentia is a reflection of what's going on. So, Star Trek is the mirror to the modern world. Star Trek is hope. Star Trek is many things. And Prodigy is just a prime example of what it can do in all its glory.
It's beautiful. We've said that 12 times today already, and I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, because this story is one of the best paced season-long arcs made to date, in my opinion. It's filled to the brim with Trek lore where it fits. It's not like they're just throwing it in either just for show. Every episode contributes in some way to the whole. Not a minute is wasted in this show. It never has been. And every detail is so well thought out. Like we've mentioned, people asking questions to Aaron Waltke, and he's actually got an answer for these really deep cut questions all the time because he's already thought about them. And pivotal moments in this story, they are hard earned.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I have to add is we have a lot of two-parters. As you said, it's a fantastic cohesive story through the entire thing. We have very few standalone episodes, and as we discussed, during our episodes, they kind of serve as like nice pauses. Like you sort of like in music, you get to a point and then a new thing starts over. A new crisis comes along. So it's beautiful in every, beautifully put together.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of which, I mean, Nami Melamud, her score, of course, is just gorgeous. I thought she knocked it out of the park in season 1. I haven't listened to season 2 enough to really know if I think that season 2 is better. Maybe it's just on par. They're both that good, but she has set the bar so high that it's all excellent.
And I already kind of mentioned it when we were discussing about favorite moments. I don't have enough superlatives to express my admiration for the art design. Season 2 is truly incredible. And what a coup, kudos to the designers. There is nothing that can be compared to. Quite literally, I think it stands alone.
Yeah, I think it's no coincidence that we started doing shout outs to the art department for certain scenes just because it's all excellent work, but some stuff really does. It's so good, it has to stand out. And so, well done, all of you. I gotta say, what criticisms we've had in our analysis throughout the season, they're pretty small in the grand scheme of things.
Practically non-existent, and not even so much criticisms as more like questions. When it was like, well, what was
Yeah.
EMH doing at the, transporter operation station or something
Yeah.
like that? Sort of like, can we have like an additional scene to explain this? But
Yeah.
so it's not really even criticism. It's more like, I want more.
This is true. Yeah. And it's not like the show is just so completely perfect that nothing ever goes wrong. No, it's got some flaws. Every show does. Nothing is perfect. But what we've looked at as deeply as we possibly can, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, for a season of TV, this is, in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. And as a cohesive story, between seasons 1 and 2, I dare say we haven't had a more consistent run of 40 episodes, maybe ever, in Star Trek.
Yeah.
This is all so well designed, and these seasons are definitely meant to piggyback off of one another. And that's no disrespect either to any of the other shows out there. I mean, that's just how good this show is, how well they crafted and planned everything.
Yeah. And on top of all of that, I love the fact that, I mean, undoubtedly it's a continuation to Voyager, that it flows beautifully.
Yes.
We have all these references and callbacks directly or indirectly to, and not only Voyager, other things. But the fact that within the of the modern Trek productions, it slots in perfectly in the timeline. It's like, yes, it's an animated series, but yeah, it totally coexists with Cerritos and especially Picard. My goodness,
Yes.
we go straight into Picard as the series ends. It's incredible.
Yeah. And they're doing all of this under the pressure of producing television, and doing that in any form, whether it's animation or live action. It's not easy. You have to answer to a lot of people, some of whom just care about making money, have no regard for the creative process. And for this show, it was largely produced under COVID lockdown.
Yeah,
and
indeed.
That no doubt added some extra layers of complication to producing the show, which already has so many moving parts to begin with. But like our Prodigy team, they gave us such pure Star Trek that's also acceptable to anyone. That's such an incredible balancing act that I don't know any other show has done quite as well as they have.
Yeah.
You can be a longtime fan like us. You could be a complete newcomer. And this show is a great point for you to watch Star Trek. It's for any age, 5 to 125. You can watch it by yourself, or you can bring in the whole entire family, and everybody is going to get it. I can't stress enough how incredible
accessible
that is. For a 50-plus-year-old franchise, I mean, that's like asking the impossible. And I know that the Prodigy team is proud of their work, and they should be. It's one of the most impressive outings that's flown under the Trek banner. So really, to all of you out there who might be watching and help give us this show, thank you from the bottom of both of our hearts. This show is a gift to anyone who watches it. So thank you, and thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, here we are at the end.
We're getting close.
Yeah. So where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here? Because as of when we are recording this right now, sadly, we don't have any news on where Prodigy might go from here. And that doesn't mean that no news means Prodigy's dead in the water, but it also doesn't mean that anything's happening yet either. Like, there's just nothing happening either way. But that said, I know that there are fans who are trying to set things in motion and show Netflix the fan demand, especially to Netflix, since it is on their platform right now. It happened before. Fan demand brought Prodigy to Netflix after it was canceled on Paramount Plus, and it could do it all over again. I mean, back in the 1960s with the original series, Bijo and John Trimble had that letter writing campaign that brought Star Trek back. Without that, we probably wouldn't have Star Trek right now. We wouldn't be talking about it the way we are now without them. And so that's powerful. That is something that you can do.
Yeah. So, in terms of any kind of specifics, all that we can recommend is, yes, if you haven't, go online, tell Netflix, mention the series, tell them how much you love the show, tell them how much you want the third season. And yes, I actually haven't met anyone who wouldn't say, like, well, there's got to be more to this story. We need the third season. Keep watching Prodigy on Netflix. All those numbers, all the little, all viewing metrics still matter. And of course, whatever's available, buy the Blu-rays, buy the DVDs, buy the books, other Prodigy merch, whatever you can find. It definitely shows the support to the show, and it matters. It matters. So
it does.
Keeping fingers crossed.
Yeah. Now, as much as we wish that we had more merch, do get what you can if you have the means, because it does matter. It all matters. However you can contribute, have your voice heard. It matters. With all of that said, though, Marina, I think this one's coming to a close. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Mission Log Prodigy. Marina, thank you for joining me on the journey this season. And a big thank you to our cadets, too, and their parents for sharing their thoughts with us this season and the last. We couldn't have done it without you. You're the bright spot of our show. So thank you again for all that you did to help us out. And if you've enjoyed our show, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Mission Log Prodigy on the playlist, on Roddenberry Entertainment, on the podcatcher of your choice, however you're checking us out here. Thank you for doing that. Mission Log Prodigy is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment, production and technical direction by Earl Green. Our website and your opportunity to comment and connect with us is at missionlogpodcast.com. And if you'd like to support Mission Log directly, you can do so at patreon.com/missionlog.
And in the end, live lugs and proper, and go fast.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.